everything. It was here. It was always here. I remember the way the sun would shine off your face, the way the wind would split your hair, the sound of your heartbeat. I remember the warmth of your skin, the warmth. I have been here ever since that day, trapped inside an empty shell of who I once was. The cold within me is all I have left, because the cold is how I embrace you. This storm is how I hold you. This storm is everything, because it's what keeps you whole. It's what keeps you whole. But you cannot defy death and decay. No one can. I can feel myself changing. Something dark growing inside. I know that it is time. Time to leave this place behind. Time to start again. Time to find my own way. But you will never be forgotten. My only hope is that the memory of you can preserve what good is left in me. For I do not know what I shall become if I lose it.
Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. I know it's been a while since I've released one and I apologize. I've been very busy, and also with the changes to Markarth, I wanted to make sure things were just right. I've got a lot of builds ready to go. I wanted to thank you guys for just recently I peaked over 100,000 total views, so I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed those clips of what this build looks like and what this build can do, as well as the introduction where we follow a man whose life has been broken and he finds himself on a journey to either the light or the dark. I guess that is up to you. Well, let's jump into the build, the stat screen now. It's a really good looking stat screen, over 40k max mag, 2600 magic recovery, over 3100 spell damage, and the resistances are great. We are using the Atronach boon for even more recovery, and Bewitched Sugar Skulls in PvP for that extra stamina. If you're going to do some PvE stuff, you can use the Clockwork Citrus Fillet. You don't need as much stamina. Yeah, I'm a werewolf, but that's not really anything I'm using. It was just a passive that if I switch back to a stam character, I don't have to go fetch that out again. But it's not hurting or helping me. So like I said, the meal is Bewitched. We are using Tri-Potions for just more resource return and all the major buffs. Fortitude, Intellect, and Endurance, they all give you 40% now, up from 20% prior to this patch. So let's jump into the gear now. Okay, so the first 5-piece set, it's a craftable set, Coldharbour's favorite. We have a Frost Staff. We want that over Lightning or Inferno for the damage buff as a Warden, as well as the immobilization effect. You'll see that it's an infused trait. I actually swapped that to a sharpened trait. The fit trait has a double-edged sword. When you heal yourself, you can proc the Noble Mount Honor that heals over 16,000 health to everybody over 6 seconds in the AoE. Or when you damage, you'll deal magic damage, which is buffed by a Warden. 25,000 plus damage over 6 seconds to all enemies in the AoE. Which is cool. It's blue, it's like a cold fire. So as an added bonus, even visibly, it fits perfect for this build. The monster set, Neriant, first trait spell damage. When you deal direct damage, 15% chance, 1 in 6, to summon a Lich Crystal that explodes after 2 seconds, dealing almost 15k damage. All enemies within 4 meters. It's an AoE, and it is a direct damage. It happens a lot with Force Shock because you're delivering 3 hits with Crushing Shock simultaneously. We'll show more of that later. Winterborn is the second 5-piece set. 2-piece max mag, 3-piece magic recovery, 4-piece spell damage. 5th item, when you deal frost damage, you summon an ice pillar that deals 11,000 plus damage to all enemies in a 3-meter radius, a 6-meter diameter, and this can happen every 6 seconds. This set is a very powerful proc set now. It used to be an 8% chance when you dealt frost damage. Now it's a guaranteed 100% chance. It happens every 6 seconds, especially on a frost build. You can see we have jewelry infused on the ring. You can mix and match these however you see fit for more recovery or more spell damage, depending on what meal you're eating and what your mundus is. And on our other bar, we have a sword and board. Now, you could change this up. You could have sword and board Coldharbour's favorite on your back bar. You could use one of the mythic items somewhere on your body, or keep Winterborn on your body at 5 pieces at all times and put like a Master's Frost Destro on the front bar. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to take a brief moment and show why it is I picked these particular sets for this build. The proc rates, the damage, the tooltips, the synergy. So starting with Coldharbour's favorite, like I showed you, it is a double-edged sword. It can either heal or it could damage. The damage is 25,000 plus over 6 seconds. So I'll go ahead and show what this looks like and how it procs. So we hit him with any attack. There's the blue fire. He's got the damage over time on him, 3187. You can see him burning with the blue. So when you deal damage, that's going to proc. If the 10-second cooldown, here's again, if the 10-second cooldown is over and then you are in a heal, it'll proc a heal for you. And it's kind of nice because it's almost, in a way, intuitive, because when you're healing and kind of going defensive, that's what you're doing more of, and it shows up for the heal. And when you're on a damage rotation, really trying to put it out there with damage, it shows up for the damage. So let me go ahead and take some damage here and then throw a heal out, and then you'll see the AoE. It's the same size. Here we go. That green, now here I am. Now I'm healing up. That's the gold glow, and it's a lot of healing over 6 seconds. So it's just really nice to have that almost 2 sets in one going on. Okay, so the next showcase we will go over is the Winterborn set. I've become a major fan of this set. I used to like it before, but it was just so hard to get it to proc on anything unless you were using a frost staff, and even then it was 8% chance. Now it's 100% chance. They've upped the damage, and that ice pillar procs constantly now. Check it out. Right there on command underneath of him. Of course, the Coldharbour's favorite as well, the magic damage. You saw that proc as well. Another light attack. There's the pillar. I mean, I love that it just on command at the location of the enemy or any enemy with him in that area. All of those, well, both of those I haven't shown Narianth yet, but you basically send a barrage of AoEs and procs in a location, which is why immobilization is so important on this build. Lightning Staff can be used for PvE, because honestly, statistically, the buffing you get for AoE damage on this build with the Lightning Staff is better, but in PvP, you need a lot of that mobilization and that stun. So through this heal right here, which we'll go over later, and the Frost Clench on the Destruction Staff Frost skill, you'll immobilize the enemy, keeping them in range of some of those delays that Coldharbour's favorite gives you and Narianth has, which we're going to go over right now. 1 item, spell damage. 2 items, when you deal direct damage, you have a 15% chance to summon a Lich Crystal. That's almost a 1 in 6. The Lich Crystal will explode to all enemies in the area, dealing almost 15,000 damage, and it will occur every 3 seconds. That's awesome with direct damage, especially with Weaving Crushing Shock. A little bad roll there, but here we go. You saw it show up, explode, and disappear. Show up, explode, and disappear. This is how often you could get this to appear, and it just keeps proccing. Now you can use, like I said, weave in the Frost Clench to immobilize them so they stay there. The Warden with a Frost Staff has got so much CC and immobilization. This is the build to use these sets on, and I'm telling you what, you get them all going and you hit them with all of them, and it's so bursty. And I'll show that here in just a minute. But first, let's go over some of the skills, because some of that burst depends on those skills. So we'll go ahead and take a look at both bars here, starting with the Frost Staff bar. The first skill, Crushing Shock, delivers all 3 elements, Flame, Frost, and Shock, with a direct damage. It interrupts, so your Frost is delivered with your Winterborn. It's going to proc your Coldharbour's favorite, most likely, if you're on cooldown. And Narianth, you got 3 deliveries of damage right there, so you're getting a 45% chance just from 1 skill. Deep Fissure. This one reduces their spell resistance by over 5,000, giving them major breach, but also deals over 14,000 damage to everybody in the area like that. And it's just so nice to line that up with a heavy attack or even a medium attack, and then release with Crushing Shock, delivering the Shulks, the Winterborn Shard, the Coldharbour's favorite burst, and then Narianth. Frost Clench. I told you about this one. You got to have it. It's moderate damage, but really what you're going after is the immobilization for 5 seconds. This clip was taken before Markarth was released for the skills, so you'll actually see that it also does a taunt now. Which is another reason why you don't want it in PvE. Bird of Prey. This is just going to give you minor berserk, which now actually is not 8% damage. It's going to be 5% additional damage. And the last skill, normal skill, is our Magic Award, the light armor skill. Dampen Magic. This is just going to help us when we're in a little bit of a pinch, and we want to go into a fight leading off with this skill, so we have more damage to take. We can stick to our burst and our attack rotation. Okay, so the ultimate on this bar, Northern Storm, perfect, for this build. 5,100 frost damage every second for 8 seconds. It, reduces their speed, but also increases your max magicka by 15% for 30 seconds. That's what puts us over 40k, and gives us major protection, which is now 10% reduced damage versus 30%. So But anyway, you get all that buffing, and you get that max magic up for 30 seconds. It's pretty awesome. You can't go wrong with that ultimate. It's perfect. Now the sword and board bar, our first skill is Living Trellis. When you cast it, it remains on you for 10 seconds. When you take damage, you'll get 2274 health every time you take damage. Or let it expire, it'll heal you for 5500. You can cause it to expire by spamming it, which means basically casting it before its duration is complete, like right here. And I keep getting the heal, okay, every time I do that. So that's nice. You could do it on yourself or an ally. The next skill, oh man, Arctic Blast, one of my favorites, the most important skill probably on this build. It heals you instantaneously. It heals you over time. It damages enemies around you for 1800 frost damage every second. And then it stuns them after they are hit by 3 consecutive whirls, or whatever you want to call it, blasts. So there it is there. It heals you instantaneously with a burst heal. It gives you a heal over time, a damage over time, and then a stun on the enemy, which, by the way, can be rotated and coupled with the CC of Frost Clench on the other bar. An immobilization and a stun are not the same. They have individual and separate cooldowns. The next skill, Winter's Revenge. It deals 2500 frost damage every second for 12 seconds. You lay this field down, you play in it. It almost gives you like home field advantage. You can proc Winterborn, layer it with some of your other AoEs. It's got pretty good range to reach if you wanted to, but I like to lay it down where I'm going to be fighting and kind of fight in it defensively. And with Coldharbour's favorite and Winterborn and Arctic Blast, it's just a table turner. Blue Betty, you can't beat this skill. On top of the already high Magicka recovery, this is going to recover 5,000 Magicka to you over 25 seconds. It buffs your weapon and spell damage by 25% with Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, and every 5 seconds, the Netch cleanses a negative effect from you. As well as Bond with Nature, where you can cast him and cast him and cast him, and every time you cancel the previous by casting him again, you get this kind of a cheat heal, as well as not having to wait the full 5 seconds for a cleanse. You could just spam Blue Betty. There's no cost for that as well. Anyway, next skill, Ice Fortress. You can't go without this. Major Resolve, Major Ward, as well as Minor Protection. Minor Protection is now 5% damage mitigation versus the listed 8 there. The last skill, the ultimate on this bar, Healing Thicket. It's a little out of theme, you know, as far as the frost and magic damage goes, but the healing is incredible. 7,900 health, and then 2,600 health every second for 6 seconds, including an additional 4 seconds after the 6 seconds expires or you leave the area. It's great for your allies. It's just, you know, you can come out of a Battlegrounds match with just Living Trellis and that ultimate and have 300,000 healing. You could somehow incorporate Swarm if you wanted to into the rotation, maybe take off Bird of Prey and put in Swarm, because it's going to give them minor vulnerability versus giving you minor Berserk, while also dealing a damage over time. You could do that. I just like in PvP to have that Bird of Prey for the extra speed and mobility, especially as a Magicka character where usually you're not really banging with the stamina. So up to you. So like I said earlier, I want to show the full burst potential of this setup, skill and proc setup. So you cast Shock, charge a fully charged heavy attack, Crushing Shock, and there you go. Winterborn, Narenth, Coldharbour's favorite, the Shock, heavy attack, and Crushing Shock. Check it out. So what you're looking for, look at the numbers above his head, what they are and how many all at once. It's just a very quick and very powerful burst of AoE numbers that are hard to mitigate, and burst is important in PvP because you don't give time to heal or shield cast. Let's do CP distribution now. Starting in the blue, we've got Elemental Expert at 56 and Spell Erosion at 57. We've got a lot of spell penetration from the Sharpened Staff. The Shocks reduce the enemy's resistance, which is why in the earlier clip I had the Infused Staff with Magic glyph. But Something I always say, and I'll say again, is when you're paying attention to CP distribution, always invest in the next decimal above the whole number. Staff Expert, we got 16 points. Master at Arms, we got 66. It lands me at 22.08. If I put 67 points in there, it'd be 22.13 or something. I wouldn't get any more benefit. I wanted 75 points in this tree for the Butcher passive, increasing the light and heavy attacks against enemies at lower health. 75 points in this tree as well. 72 of them in Thaumaturge because I wanted to land at 23%, and then 3% in Piercing. There's nothing really else I would put it in, even though I'm not a physical build. But Exploiter, off-balance enemies, increases your damage by 10%, so you always want to have that in PvP. They can even be off-balance from somebody else, not just you. Okay, defensive trees now. We've got 61 points in Ironclad because that's going to mitigate a lot of direct damage. And that's where a lot of the enemies are going to get you, is with their own burst. So you want to mitigate that a lot into Ironclad. I have 120 points in this tree. At the 75 point mark, you unlock Resilient. You need this in PvP for sure. It's incremental, but it helps. The next tree, 120 points in this as well. Light Armor, we got 59 points in it, giving us, almost 4,400 more physical resistance. Damage over time mitigation at 13%. And then Hardy and Elemental Defender, you could push it and switch your numbers around and get 5 or 6% if you wanted. But I wanted to have Critical Leech at 75 on this tree. It's imperative. When you deal critical damage, you get some healing. So that's pretty much how I would lay out this tree. The next one, we've got 30 in here. Expert Defender reduces our damage taken by light and heavy attacks. And then Quick Recovery is just going to help with our healing a little bit. And you'll get the 10 and the 30 point unlocks. Feel free to adjust these or tweak these a bit to suit your play style. Let's go ahead and move into the green recovery resource trees. So we got 31 points in Warlord. That's just going to reduce the cost of Break Free. There's nothing else really in this tree we would go after. You could do Sprinter, but with that Expedition, I'm not having to sprint as much with Bird of Prey. Now this tree, we're highly invested in 147 points. We've got Stamina Recovery, Magicka Recovery, and Health Recovery. If you see what I've done, like I said before, everything is just one notch above the whole number. So I'm not wasting any points. I'm maximizing all the points I have. We unlock everything in that tree, and then of course the last one, Tumbling, reduces the cost of roll dodge, and we do have Sword and Board. So Shadow Ward is going to reduce the cost of blocking by an additional 18%, on top of the One Hand and Shield block cost reduction passives. Well, okay everyone, that wraps up the CP distribution and actually wraps up this build video. I really appreciate you all. Again, I thank you for helping me exceed over 100,000 total views. I got a couple more builds to pump out here. If you like this build and you want to see more, check out my channel. I've got other cool builds on there, as well as non-build related stuff, tips and guides, and even a couple vids on visual effects to help make your character just look a little bit cooler. We all like that, but I really do appreciate you all, guys, and like and subscribe if you like my stuff, and leave me a comment. I do read them all, and I hope to see you guys out there, as I have seen some of you already. It's been a pleasure. Area of Effect, signing out.